Before we jump into this amazing episode, I just wanted to let you know our summer challenge is 4 days away. If you're listening to this on Thursday, we have amazing prizes. The winner will get $2,000 cold hard cash. We have Apple Watch. We have free coaching time. We have so many amazing prizes. And the biggest prize, of course, will be the transformation that takes place, the habits that you create, how you feel, your confidence level, all that great stuff leading up to summer. So I promise you, you do not want to miss out on the challenge of the year. This is our best challenge yet, and we are going to get you guaranteed results along with so many amazing people in this transformation challenge. So with that being said, all you have to do is message us with the keyword challenge to our Instagram, which is ColossusFit, ColossusFit. We do only have a limited amount of spots. It starts in a few days, and I promise you, you do not want to miss out. So we'll see you on Instagram. Now into the episode.
Yo, what's going on? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I am your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm on the mic.
And I've gone to a lot of different gyms. I've obviously worked with a ton of amazing people, and I've noticed there's a theme out there. There's a lot of plateaus going on. People swimming sideways or swimming backwards, but feeling like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Maybe you're going to the gym. Maybe you're making an effort to eat healthy and you are not seeing progress. You've plateaued out. You can't break past where you are. Maybe it's with inputting muscle, losing weight, whatever it is. Plateaus are brutal, and I really want to get down to the core of what causes them. And within these 8 tips, if you listen to this episode, you listen to it in detail, you're really going to learn what's holding you back and how to push forward. And I'm just really excited to jump into it, especially with this first one. So my first tip is you likely aren't training hard enough. And this goes to everyone, and I also include this myself. All the time I'll have to analyze, okay, why am I doing this so light? Why am I stopping 2 to 3 reps shy on this when I know I should be at RIR2? Really being critical with yourself on this, really taking training as an art form. Every set, every rep, really bring that intention. It makes it way more enjoyable, and it greatly increases the difficulty, which also increases your development. And what's really cool is a new meta-analysis was actually done regarding lifters and them self-selecting their loads for training. So basically a bunch of people, they had them choose what weights they thought were appropriate for them to lift with. And the conclusion from the study showed that most lifters tend to be very conservative in their weight selections, which obviously leaves them with tons of reps left in the tank and not a lot of muscle rips going on. So what that suggests is that a lot of people are leaving these gains on the table, and it was shown that they're actually doing like 50% of their capacity, leaving a ton in the tank. And at this level, the difference between that and being like at a 5 out of 10 difficulty, as opposed to being an 8, a 9, or a 10, obviously we don't want to go to failure every set, but you do want to be towards an 8, is super drastic. You could go to the years, and you could go to the gym for years rather, and really be selling yourself short, and you'd be blown away at how much results you'll leave on the table. It'd be really hard for you to push through that and really get to the next level. So this is where a little bit of change can be a big difference. Perhaps you've seen massive bodybuilders training in the gym, hype footage, or screaming at each other. You'll see they're fatiguing out. They do a slow rep. And then I love it. All the time you'll hear a coach or someone yell, "This is where it counts." Those are the reps where you'll put on the most muscle. You'll actually gain the most strength. You'll see the most development, but they're also the hardest to do. That's where it gets difficult. That's where you want to put down the weights. And there's all these quotes about, I don't start counting till it hurts, etc., etc. But once again, the easiest thing you can do in regards to this is really just be honest with yourself. Like, are you lifting to at least an 8 out of 10 difficulty? And challenge that. Go to failure every blue moon. Maybe tricep pushdowns, you've always used 30 pounds and you've done 12 reps. See if you can keep going. So I love programming with new clients in my program. I love AMRAP, so it's as many reps as possible. So oftentimes I'll program something like a squat 3x8 followed by an AMRAP. And the beauty of this is I'll have them do the same weight, which would be counterproductive for someone like me, because if I truly am going to like an RAR1, which means 1 rep in reserve, I'm probably not going to be able to do a ton of reps after that 3x8. But that's the point of this. If you do 3x8 and it's RAR1, and then I give you an AMRAP and you get 20 reps, that is not RAR1. That is now RAR12 that you've been doing for those last 3 sets. And you can use that as like a little bit of a breakthrough to say, wow, I'm going way too light. And that's where I recommend challenging yourself, upping those weights. If it's 3x8 and you get 7 reps, maybe it's a little bit heavy, but you know you're in that right range, you can drop that weight ever so slightly. So stop selling yourself short by using way too light weights, not pushing yourself hard in the gym. And I promise you, even if you're listening to this and you're like, this isn't me, this is you. I guarantee you there's something you're leaving a lot on the table. I constantly have to challenge myself with this over and over and over. And sometimes it's hard to be like, I don't want to lift more weights because I got to carry 3 more plates to the leg press. I got to get these little extra 2.5 pounds to put on top of the cable stacks. But this one in particular, especially for muscular development and just challenge, if you do this, you start lifting properly, training hard, like this will be the biggest groundbreaking thing for any plateau, even within fat loss. You start training harder, you're going to burn more calories, you're going to have more exhaustion. So this is a big one. I really do want to leave you with this one as number 1. But yeah, what's number 2?
That was so well said. And before I jump into it, like plateaus suck because you're showing up consistently. And that's where I think so many people kind of struggle with that point of just like, okay, I've been doing this for a certain amount of time. I'm just not seeing any more change. And in order to see change, we have to continue to make change. And a lot of what you've done previously isn't exactly what's going to produce that change going forward because your body's just gotten used to it, because your body just needs something different. And obviously the programming is a big part of that. And that brings me into number 2. But simply put, it's just your program might suck. Your program that you're following may not actually be created for you. It may just be getting stale. It may be getting old. It just might not be an efficient amount of volume for what you're used to. There's a million different things. I do find that 2 of the biggest common mistakes within a program and just a workout split, whatever you want to call it, is just either some people are following a one-size-fits-all program. I'd say that's maybe half the population, right? So they search bodybuilding routine. It's a 5-day split. It's what worked for some people, but might not be best for you. Or just going about the gym, trying new exercises, picking a new machine, whatever's free. You might go around busy time, 6 p.m., and just might be struggling to get a proper machine, so you just choose whatever. That's a very, very big common mistake. And a lot of people are blown away when they see the program that we create for them because there's so many things we take into consideration between your overall physique, between your weak points, the time frame you have, the equipment you have access to, just how many days you can work out, things that you enjoy, things you don't enjoy. We spend a lot of time, and I'm thinking because I just finished putting together a killer routine for a client, and I was putting him through an amazing muscle gain phase. Everything is periodized. Everything levels out to getting him to do some 1-rep max testing at the very end. And now that he's completed that phase, I've transitioned over into some more percentage-based training. So these are the ways to help you progress. And this isn't for everyone, but what I will say is a lot of people don't think about this. And when someone sends me a routine that they're following, it'll be like one screenshot of the week that they're doing, but then there's no progressions, there's no rep changes, there's no set changes, there's no recommended weights, there's none of this stuff, and they're just showing up doing the same stuff over and over again, which isn't a bad thing. It's not going to push you backwards, but it's also not going to push you forward. So there's a lot to consider there. Hopefully I left you with a few things, but I have noticed a lot of common mistakes with this, and that's why I wanted to spend some time on number 2.
Kyle crushed it with this one, and this is the key here too. If you're really just challenging yourself, maybe I come in for my leg day, I'm super fired up, and I'm listening to Coach Josh's advice, RR1. I come in there and I do adductor machine, I do abductor machine, I do calves again, and then I'm like, I can't wait to see my amazing legs. That's a really suboptimal routine. Like, you're missing out on a lot. There's a lot of different patterns you're neglecting, and really understanding the different motions and benefits that come alongside them. You obviously want to make sure you're hinging. You want to make sure you're doing different things that will work against the negatives in your life. Like I said, if you're sitting a lot, postural, like even just time to benefit of movements, and also fatigue to benefit of movements. Some movements are very high fatigue and they're super effective, but you can't pair just like 6 of them together, or it's going to exhaust you and it's going to inhibit you from actually lifting well for the next few days. And once again, if it sounds complicated, it's because it is. It doesn't need to be. Once again, there are some great routines out there you can get for free online. They're a great starting point, but they don't take into account your custom desires. It's like just ordering a generic meal. Like, it doesn't, like a burrito bowl, it'd be good, but there's a lot of things that will make it better to you, a lot of things you probably hate, a lot of ways to optimize that, and it's the same component. So once again, being mindful of these things will be absolutely huge to breaking through the plateau. And once again, we got our challenge going on. Don't miss out on it. Like I said, this is the time to do it. But into my third tip, I spent a lot of time really debating what's holding individuals back and what I've noticed from my clients, the things I fixed. And sleep is one of those ones where we say it all the time, and I don't want to just say sleep duration, I want to say sleep quality. It's very easy to underplay the importance of it, and it's easy to say, okay, well, there's all these people out there. I know this guy that's deezed out of his mind, and this guy goes out clubbing till 4 a.m. every night, and he still looks amazing. Why do I need to be so concerned with sleep? And the reality is you'll never know where that individual would be if they slept properly. Studies have shown the effects of not getting enough sleep over and over again and the effects it causes on you. It's just absolutely devastating. So really looking to optimize for that and making an effort to make it better. And it's easy to say, okay, well, I have less control because I have a toddler at home. I have a baby. I have all these different things. I have a dog that barks, a new puppy. All these different things. Case in point, you need to control for what you can control for, and you need to make as much effort to optimize that situation as much as possible. And perhaps it won't be perfect, but the key here is to say, how can I get the best quality sleep possible? And oftentimes it's getting to bed earlier. It's really making sure to black out your room. It's investing in a good pillow. It's getting a consistent sleep schedule. It's trying to find out how you can make your room really quiet as well as cool. Like doing these different things will yield massive results. Limiting blue light exposure. There's so many things that are in your control. And yes, a lot of things may be out of your control, but by making a point to optimize for these factors, you're going to reap the benefits over time, and you're going to get better quality and a better duration.
Absolutely. And that's very well said. And I'm going to jump into something here, which I'm currently hydrating, drinking some water. And simply put, number 4 is just hydration. We have found over and over again being chronically dehydrated is bad for performance, bad for general health. And you really just have to make sure you are drinking enough liquids throughout the day. And simply put, there's a million different tips that you want to consider here. But my main thing is just constantly having water by my side. Even in the gym, it's a great way to utilize that. You know, you're pushing yourself. Sometimes you're getting out of breath. Like I know some people who just like don't really take advantage of this time. So set a timer, set reminders. First thing in the morning, drink an entire cup. When you're working out, have a bunch of it. Obviously, you want to avoid having too much water before bed, or else it's going to affect number 3. Like Josh was saying, it's going to affect your sleep because you're going to have to get up and go to the washroom. But point being, this is a very simple tip, but honestly, I'd say one of the most underrated, because I know a lot of people who just aren't paying attention to it. You just think you're naturally drinking as a bunch of liquids and a bunch of water, but it's not something, if you're not paying attention to it, it's very easy to under consume as much water as you should be having. So definitely something to consider for sure.
Yeah, it's often the smallest thing that leads to the biggest results, and you got to ask, what are the holes in your game? And if this is something that's not a priority, you definitely want to go ahead and make it a priority. And I find water connects a lot of dots. I have some clients doing everything right. Things aren't moving how I want. I'm like, how's water? And they're like, oh, I'm bad with it. And I really challenge them, and I give them a lot of tips and tricks and kind of homework to make sure they're hitting it. And then things just start working for whatever reason. So don't neglect it. It can really have a great benefit. And my next tip is just really poor nutrition. So obviously hitting your macros is so important. Your calories, your protein, these are key. You can still see amazing aesthetic changes, even eating garbage. But I do find by optimizing for eating better, really aiming to eat at least 80% good, whole, healthy foods and then 20% more fun. But the more you can invest into that and the more you can clean up the quality of your nutrition, getting more minerals and vitamins, getting more fiber, being more satiated from your food, I do just find even personally the difference of energy I have alongside my clients is instrumental. It's huge. So when you can actually eat better food, I find it's a lot more motivating to train harder. You're feeling less bloated, you're feeling less lethargic, you're feeling not starving during the day because you have really good food. So I definitely recommend investing in eating the best food possible, especially for your budget.
Very well said. And now we're going to jump into number 6, which is just overall controlling your stress. So chronically high stress levels can definitely have numerous negative health effects, including your performance in the gym, general energy levels, and it's really just important to try to reduce it as much as possible. So a lot of people may not realize you may be trying to push yourself. You may have the right intentions. You know, all these first tips are taken care of. You're challenging yourself in the gym. You're putting yourself through stress at the gym, which is going to lead to the overall results. But stress outside of it is just having a negative effect. It's affecting your food choices. It's not allowing you to stay on track nutritionally. And there's just a lot of bad things that are taking place from that. So I have a number of different things to kind of give in terms of just tips, but one of my biggest things is just spending time. As hard as it is to slow down, to spend some time, whether it's a few minutes of deep breathing, whether it's like a few seconds of deep breathing, getting out in nature, really paying attention to the stuff that matters the most. Like, it's just, to me, life isn't worth spending so much time just overthinking, over worrying, over stressing. And unfortunately, it does a lot more harm than good. And this is one thing between even just the sleep tip Josh said, this stress tip, like these are things that aren't really, you don't really pay attention to and you don't think it's going to help you as much. But once you get a handle on it, it makes a big difference in your journey, and it can definitely be affecting your overall progress for sure.
Yeah, like stress is such an easy one to say, oh, it just is what it is, but oftentimes there are things we can do if there's something that's just been over your head for days. I feel like one of the best ways to really combat like stress and overthinking is just to get something done quick. The more you draw it out, the more that small thing becomes insurmountable and annoying and brutal, and the more you can kind of just face things head on. One of my clients used an analogy of just attacking things this week, which I love, just that concept of not overthinking it, just saying I'm attacking it, and removing that flinch a lot of the time can free that up. I even find there's different ways you can alleviate in your life, like Kyle said, making that time for you, really making sure also to like limit things that do stress you out. Like if every time you check your work email before you go to bed, it stresses you out, maybe stop doing that. Like different things along that, we could make that a whole episode of its own, but really addressing that can be a real killer of gains. And then my final tip for this episode is not pushing yourself to your full potential. So leaving results and your potential on the table. And this could be done by just going through doing the same workouts, not setting new goals, being scared to push that next level, not upping those weights on purpose, whatever it may be. I really enjoy the process of trying to continually get better, gamifying the journey, looking for little milestones, little wins, little different areas I can continue to get better with and push forward to. And I find by doing this, it always helps me break through plateaus because I always got something working for me. And you can have different seasons where you could really be focusing on bodybuilding training and building definition. You could have times where you're super into your cooking or times you're powerlifting. And these are all things you'll put in your tool belt that'll just help you get better and better and better. And that to me is what part of growing is. But I know Kyle's got a big last final tip here.
Yeah, and this last one is probably the hardest one for people to hear. Like some of you are probably thinking, okay, I know I need a bit more water. I know my sleep has some work. I know my stress, could be managed a bit better. We all know that we can improve in a couple of those areas, but the consistency, that is one of the hardest things because some people may think they're being as consistent as they should be. Some people may not realize they're being as consistent as they are. And this is really, really what's holding so many people back. And this can come from, I'd say, especially workouts, but also nutritionally. I know a lot of times people will have a 1 week on, 1 week off mindset, or not even a mindset, but it just happens based off of get-togethers, birthdays, just like, maybe not feeling it 1 week, or some people will start bad on a Monday and then they'll let it carry over for the week and then wait till the next week. Whatever it is, you have to do this for a certain amount of time. I'd say give it a couple months at least of just consistent actions of showing up at least 5 times per week to the gym, strength training. That's where, once again, a lot of people also struggle is they'll do, a couple weeks at a time or, just maybe 1 week at a time. They're just not consistent enough to allow themselves to see that overall long-term progress. And I really encourage you, once again, to fully commit, to go all in, to make this a lifestyle. And chances are, if you have all these other tips mastered, you will start to see the incredible change that you're striving for. So be consistent. I can't stress it enough. And yeah, make sure that that's not holding you back because I know it's holding a lot of people back for sure.
Yeah, and if you feel overwhelmed by this and you're like, you've given me 8 things I need to be more perfect on, just know imperfect action beats inconsistent action every time. If you're in the gym, you're making some effort, even if you're not on the most optimal routine, you still will progress, especially over someone who is inconsistent and not doing things. And it's just about making an effort to become better, to try, and don't have analysis by paralysis, overthinking a million different things. Just take action, aim to get better, put in that work, and you'll be quite amazed at where you get. And once again, I really do want to leave you with this, that we do have this challenge coming up on Monday, May 6th. So as long as you're listening to this before, please send us a message on Instagram with the keyword challenge. I promise you it'll be the best decision you made for your fitness, health, and happiness. I've spent years and years really just not only learning about this, doing this myself, as well as helping others achieve where they want to be in their fitness, their health, and happiness. And I want to do the same for you because you deserve it. You have a lot going on. And I promise you, by investing in yourself and becoming a fitter, healthier, happier person, you're going to see those benefits in your family life, in your friendships, in your personal happiness, in your energy, in your work. Like it goes and goes and goes. And you'll find you'll knock a lot of those habits that are already costing you tons of money, eating bad foods, going for quick fixes, wasting money on useless supplements. And I can promise you that this investment will pay for itself. So once again, message to learn more, $2,000 grand prize. And as long as you're hungry, I promise you'll be a great candidate for this. So message me with the keyword on my personal Instagram, which is @ColossusFit, ColossusFit, with the keyword challenge. I can't wait to help you out. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.